Hey guys, Zeus here. Welcome to this Echo guide for Season 9. Echo, the fast-paced, time-warping assassin, has one of the most unique playstyles, playmaking, bursting, and potential to turn entire teamfights around with a perfectly timed parallel convergence or ultimate. Echo sits on a fine balance. Timing is everything. 0.1 second too late and you're done. 0.1 second too early and you're useless. It's all about that perfect sweet spot, which will take a certain amount of games under your belt. This guide will help you achieve that, no matter what your goal is. So hurry up, let's get started before time runs out. I've looked over the best statistic websites, observed pro players, and tested them myself to find the most optimal and efficient builds as well as playstyles. After playing League for 5 years now, I reached Challenger last season, but what I'm really passionate about is constantly improving in all roles and playstyles as well as adapting to League's ever-changing meta. I plan to achieve Challenger in all roles next season, so if you want to be part of a community that focuses on constant improvement, press subscribe to join, and let's start this journey with the aim of reaching our highest potential in Season 9. Before we get into build, let's quickly go over abilities as well as the specific tips for each. Your passive applies a resonance stack every time you auto or hit damaging abilities on an enemy. Once you activate the third stack, it deals percentage health damage, which scales with AP, which is doubled against monsters, and if the target is a champ, you gain movement speed. This passive is essential for trades in lane, giving you the ability to run back to safety, crucial for a melee champ like Echo. Use this to clear waves faster and even take your jungle camps, as well as the enemy jungle camps and objectives. Hitting your other abilities is great, but getting the damage from your passive could be the difference from a kill or even an enemy escaping. So don't forget to get those extra auto attacks in. Your Q is your bread and butter for laning. It allows you to safely farm, clear waves and poke. It's an AoE skill shot thrown forward, which deals damage and applies a slow. The second part is the return, dealing damage only, which has a higher AP ratio and about the same base stats. This ability has the potential to proc 2 resonance stacks. Echo's W also has 2 parts. A passive which deals percentage health of targets missing health below 30% HP every basic attack. The active creates a field. After 3 seconds, the field becomes a slow area, and if Echo enters it after the 3 seconds, he is shielded and stuns any enemies in the field. Echo's E also has 2 parts. The first part is a dash, perfect for gap closing and dodging skill shots. The second part increases his auto attack range to 300 units, slightly lower than most range champs, blinking to a target and dealing bonus AP damage. Finally, his ultimate. Once you level this ability and it's not on cooldown, you'll have a hologram of yourself following you with a 4-second delay. Once activated, you blink back to the hologram, deal damage to enemies in an AoE and heal yourself. It has a huge AP ratio of 150%. We'll go through more specifics in other sections, specifically combos. Before we go over specifics, here is a cheat sheet you can use ASAP. There are 2 options for the second path, Sorcery and Inspiration, both explained later on in this section. The major rune that works perfectly with Echo's playstyle is Electrocute. Great for early trades, a simple EQ auto will proc this rune. Try to go for trades when this is off cooldown, since you want to deal the most optimal damage for your mana use, especially if you use your W in your combo. Sudden Impact is procced mainly from your E as well as your ultimate, giving Echo some extra magic and armor pen, synergizing perfectly with his abilities and his auto attack usage. Eyeball Collection is Echo's best bet to snowball, giving him additional AP per takedown. Ghost Pourer is just as viable, especially if vision is a priority against a huge jungle threat. Echo has great escape potential, so placing this in an enemy territory will provide Echo with some extra AP. Ravenous Hunter as the final rune. The sustain this provides will help Echo through his vulnerable laning stage, as well as when it's fully stacked later on. Now let's go over the 2 second paths, Sorcery and Inspiration. Sorcery is the most common, with a very solid win rate all round and picked frequently in high elo. First most common rune is Absolute Focused. Against lanes that don't constantly poke and harass you to below 70% HP, it will provide extra AP when you go for trades. The extra AP can also help with clearing waves. It has a decent synergy with our previously picked Ravenous Hunter, helping you maintain HP above 70%. Transcendence is viable over Absolute Focus if maintaining above 70% HP isn't likely against a certain team comp. With Protobelt, Lichbane, and Zhonya's as your core build, this rune will cap your CDR at 40%. The second most optimal and common rune is Gathering Storm. This provides AP every 10 minutes, but it's specifically the 20 minute 24 AP you get and 30 minute 48 AP that will most likely make this rune viable. The potential to burst at 30 minute mark will be insane, especially with a 150% AP ratio on your ultimate. Inspiration is the second optimal path. Magical footwear is one of the most cost effective runes, essentially saving you 400 gold for complete boots. There will be plenty of games where you simply cannot farm safely, so you'll naturally miss CS, so this rune will make up for it. Echo still has plenty of mobility with a dash and blink in his E, as well as his third proc from his passive, so not purchasing boots early is a sacrifice he can make. And speaking of missing CS in tougher lanes, Minion Dematerializer is a great rune to pick up some early CS, as well as amplifying damage against the 3 types of minions for the rest of the game. A common usage of this rune is 1 on cannon, 1 to 3 on the melee minions, and 2 to 4 on the range minions. As long as you get 1 for each of the 3 types, you'll make the most of this rune. Other viable runes in this path is Cookie, providing health and mana, something Echo needs in his lackluster early laning phase. And Wave Tonic, for enhanced stats from potions, specifically Corruption Potion, which is his number 1 preferred starting item. These last 2 runes won't be necessary if you decide to buy 2 Dark Seals early on. The amount of extra stats and healing these provide allow us to skip healing runes and focus on the cost efficiency and wave clearing speed, something I highly recommend after observing a certain Echo main in high elo Korea. To summarize and help you make this decision easy, if the enemy laner isn't a huge threat and you want to prioritize damage for late game, take Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm. If your laner is a constant poke and harass threat, take Magical Footwear and Minion Dematerializer to make up for your gold you will lose playing passively. In summoner spells, we'll go over TP, which can help you further in tougher lanes. The most optimal starting item is Corruption Potion. It has the health and mana Echo needs to withstand poke and harass, as well as use abilities to push or even go for trades. It even provides some extra burn damage. I want to especially go over a specific purchase of 2 Dark Seals. With 2 Dark Seals plus Corruption Potion, you will increase the healing by 50% and gain other useful stats including AP and mana. Sure, they lose some value later on when you need to sell them for major buys, but they serve such an important role to maintain pressure, especially being a melee champ in those tough lanes. If you're unsure of tough lanes, you can go and check out the hard matchups in that section. Even in some easy medium lanes, the double Dark Seal first back guarantees safety and dominance in lane. After 2 Dark Seals, build a Hextech Revolver for the extra damage proc with your auto. With this item and your Dematerializer procs, you'll be able to clear the back minion wave with a single Q. I want to quickly mention a less popular but extremely cost effective start, Dark Seal and refillable potions. You'll save gold from not having to buy health potions, and the Dark Seal will increase healing of the refillable potions. First major buy is Protobelt, an amazing playmaking item for Echo. You now have potential to one-shot certain squishy targets, especially if you can land your ultimate. This Protobelt active can sometimes allow you to gap close certain mobile champs to ensure you proc your third stack from your passive. Sork boots are highly recommended for second tier boots. The movement speed plus magic penetration is perfect for Echo. However, if there are 3 to 5 AD champs on the enemy team, Ninja Tabis are optimal. Usually if you're up against AD mids like Zed, Talon, Yasuo, Aatrox, this is a perfect item for that situation. Merc treads are just as viable if the enemy team is mostly AP or they stack a lot of CC. You should particularly be cautious of any hard CC that stops you from ulting. Cleanse is an option too, and we'll go over that in the summoner section. Lichbane is the more favourable option as the third item, with Zhonya's being a close second, depending on ally and enemy team comps. Lichbane will allow you to chunk enemies along with your E, which makes it easy to proc the passive damage you get from this item. Great CDR and movement speed for Echo's playstyle. You'll be a split pushing threat at this stage. Zhonya's will play a bigger importance once you'll need to go in deep into teamfights. Certain CC, like snares that pose a threat, will allow you to activate Zhonya's, but not your ultimate. Once you're out of Zhonya's, you can then have the option to either ult or continue fighting with other abilities. You can also proc W stun within Zhonya's active, increasing Echo's playmaking ability. That's pretty much your core build at this stage. The next items are situational. Morellos can actually be purchased after Sorks in some cases, especially if reduced healing is a necessity against heavy healing comps like Soraka or Amundo. It will still give you plenty of AP, some magic pen and HP. Deathcap is perfect for snowballing a lead. With this item completed, you will literally wipe out any squishies that take damage from your ultimate. This is what makes getting through those tough laning phases all worth it. Void Staff is a necessity for later on when teams stack MR. Of course, Mage Eyes can be bought when you start picking up kills early on. I would still recommend it after your Proto Belt and Sorks. Once you start building any of these items, selling one of your 2 Dark Seals is fine. Then I like to sell 1 Corruption Potion after that, then the final Dark Seal if I get to a 6th item late game. For certain matchups, a QSS is necessary early, especially against something like Malzahar. Bansies as a final defensive option is great too in certain games. The first and most optimal summoner spell is Flash, gap closing, escapes and playmaking, perfect on Echo. Ignite as the second summoner. This increases your kill potential, especially in the early game against easy to medium laners. Ever since the TP nerf, restricting your ability to cancel it, Ignite has been a more effective summoner spell. However, being a melee champ in mid lane, there are certain matchups that will simply poke and harass you so much that you will be forced to back early, and TP will be necessary if you want to stay at least even in CS and XP. Another advantage is the ability to split push, with the option of teleporting into your team whenever they engage or get engaged on. Cleanse is the final option, specifically taken against any hard CC champs that seriously threaten to counter you in lane and teamfights where you need to go in deep. A simple press of Lyssandra's ult, for example, will end your chance to make any impact, so this spell might be necessary. Let's quickly go over some auto attack and animation cancels that will be used in your combos. You can cancel the Q animation by pressing E for dash, immediately press Q and E blink to your target. This shoots out Q really early, so if you're on top of an enemy, they'll be instantly slowed and damaged from Q. E is an auto attack reset. Even though you'll need your E to get close to an enemy, if you're already in auto range, you can auto attack then E for 2 quick passive procs. Q plus flash cancels Q animation and sends out the Q from the direction before you flashed. Q plus Protobelt slightly cancel the Q animation, you must Q then immediately Protobelt. You can cancel the W animation by dashing with E, then immediately W to the target location. You can still hear the W ability, but your enemy won't see the animation that's usually telegraphed. It will take the enemy extra focus to hear it coming, but you'll catch some enemies off guard. Okay, so the most common trade combo, especially in lane, dash with your E, then immediately Q and blink to an enemy for the damage, slow, and the second proc. This will apply damage, slow, and the second passive proc, and then you can auto while they are slow to proc the third passive stack and electrocute. And of course you want to try and position yourself with the aim of having the return Q hit the enemy for the optimal damage. A second part to this will include throwing your W in an area where you predict the enemy will be in the next 3 seconds. This will highly increase the chance of the return Q damage, as well as getting some extra autos in. So this is the most important combo. Apart from being your major trade combo, it will get you kills in and out of lane, and you won't even need the damage from your ult later on against some squishies. The most optimal combo for full damage is W, E, Q, 2 autos, return Q, and then R, assuming the enemy is within the hologram range. Sure, this does the most damage possible with a full rotation of your spells, but it's not always realistic since your hologram is 4 seconds behind, and sometimes your hologram won't be in the right position. This is perfect in the brush when you predict an enemy is coming towards you, or you're still fighting in the same area you were 4 seconds ago. You can add Zhonya's after E, especially in fights where things get really messy and there are a lot of CC threats. After Zhonya's, hopefully your hologram is within enemy range, and you can press R immediately after coming out of the Zhonya's active. The time warp into stun. W, run away. As enemy chases you through the W, press R as the line